I wanted to ask you here in the beginning to go ahead and subscribe to this channel and also like this video. Once I get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of views, I can go ahead and monetize this channel. I do have another website that I've received almost 37 million views on, but I have never monetized that site. And so I'm going ahead and taking some of that content and a lot of new content, mostly new content with these videos and so on, so that I can share not only something of value to me, but something that I think you will find monetarily valuable to you as well. So with that said, I want to just give you a preface of what I want to do with this talk. I want to talk primarily about Kriya Yoga meditation and compare it to a few other meditation practices, including some of the breath work that we see gaining popularity, loving kindness, zazen, and vipassana, and so on. And these are wonderful, centering prayer. These are all practices that I've practiced myself in different ways, in different capacities. Vipassana I practiced for a couple, 3 years. Zazen I practiced in at least for some months, though there are certainly different forms, and I consider that what I practice today in Kriya Yoga is a form both of Vipassana and of Zazen. And what I mean by that is Vipassana means insight. It's from the Pali word meaning insight, insight meditation, and Zazen simply means to sit in meditation. So when you're sitting in meditation, you're practicing Zazen, no matter what your particular tradition is called. And Vipassana, again, simply means to be insightful, to dive into the core of the mind where there is this insight just lurking, waiting to be discovered. So I began with that autobiography of a yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda about almost 30 years ago. And my friend was a guitar teacher. He was teaching me how to play chords and these kinds of things. And he offered me this book when I was in high school. Shortly after that, I began to attend the junior college at the age of 16. And I looked at this book and I looked at some of the other books that I had been reading, like Meister Eckhart and maybe a little bit of comparative religious studies. And I was really fascinated. I had been raised quite Christian, quite Protestant. My parents were Protestant ministers at certain times of their careers. And I was very curious about what was it that made religion tick. What is it obviously in the background that makes something beyond the dogmatic to stick? And I thought I was at the time very intrigued by the saints of different traditions who had been able to, for example, also walk on water, to levitate, to heal the sick, to raise the dead, and so on and so forth, at least according to the very saintly authors who jotted down these details. So as I read through this, I thought, obviously, I compared these different fakirs and different sadhus and different sages to the life of Christ, and began to wonder about Christ's words himself when he said, "You will do what I have done, and greater things than these shall you do also." And so similar kinds of statements, "Abide in me, and I will abide in you." So as I went deeper, I began to realize, and this partly because I was concerned about, what about all these people? What's going to happen to them? I was quite young. I was concerned for their souls in a sense, but more than that, I really wanted to know what was the truth behind the different traditions. So when I met my guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, I felt some kind of connection, and yet I was very reticent to commit to some kind of guru-disciple relationship there, because I had already accepted Christ into my heart in a very deep way. I think this is true for some seekers today too, especially in the Kriya tradition, because there's so much similarity between the teachings of Yogananda and Christ himself. But I think for myself at least, I found that as I went deeper on the path and became enamored of the tradition, enamored of the technique, I found that it was really feeding me and helping me to be able to ask the questions, that were sort of repressed at first, to ask them freely and to find solutions. So that said, I wanted to take a few seconds now just to do one of these scientific healing affirmations of Yogananda, and then go on from there. This book has a number of wonderful affirmations. One of them here is, I will purify my mind with the thought that God is guiding my every activity. Now, it seems to me that we all need some help in that capacity. I will purify my mind with the thought that God is guiding my every activity. Certainly, I know for myself, I'm often vacillating. I'm going from one point to the next without really having fully resolved the previous point. I'm discovering in myself that I haven't fully digested the contents of a book that I've read, or even of a paragraph that I've read, or a sentence, and I'm trying to sort of hurry myself along. Well, I think when we realize that there is this greater power in us, and we receive the grace to recognize that we're called to this perfection, and that we have a path that many have gone before, the path of meditation and prayer, which is universal, of course. And then we begin to recognize certain signposts along that trail that, again, are universal, such as when we see in the life of St. Teresa of Avila and other saints of her ilk, this suspension of the heartbeat and of the breath. When she was very, very wrapped in God, when she was in this state of kind of samadhi, a divine union, Teresa of Avila's heartbeat is known to have stopped beating, and her breath to have stopped going in and out. So in the tradition of India, in the tradition of the yogis, this is known as Sabikalpa Samadhi, and it's the first samadhi of two major forms of samadhi. Some break it up into three, but the first one really is not worth considering in the context of divine union. So this first samadhi is quite a high achievement, and not many people have had it, though partial samadhis, partial experiences of sabikalpa certainly are possible, and I've had partial samadhis, partial sabikalpa samadhi absorptions where my heart went down to maybe 15 beats per second, 15 beats per minute, and I also had that sense of the whole world just disappearing, just a sense of absolute interiorization of the consciousness, and the breath very slow, the heart very, very, very slow. And I had that in India too with the hugging Saint Amma, when I got hugged by her and then was able to sit on the stage afterward, just this sense of absolute peace that descended upon me, wherein I completely forgot where I was, I completely forgot what time of day it was, everything disappeared, the sense of ego, the sense of identity, everything was gone for some period of time, several minutes perhaps. So this I know is a valid state because I've had at least partial absorptions there, relatively deep ones, maybe 90% or 95%. So the Sabikalpa Samadhi state, which we see the saints of all the traditions exhibiting, certainly is something that is achievable. So the second form of samadhi then, which one achieves after a great deal of practice and complete purification, is known as Nirvikalpa Samadhi in the traditions of India, and this one meaning essentially a non-dual absorption wherein one is able not only to be cloistered and interiorized, but active and working in the world even as that samadhi state is ripens. Now it's possible also to have the Nirvikalpa Samadhi absorption before, in a state of seated, silent meditation, to experience that higher bliss and not be able to carry it completely into active life, but to have that bliss, that perfect bliss, which is higher than the peace of Sabikalpa Samadhi. And again, I know that I've had some partial absorptions there too. What percent, I don't know, but I know that it's valid. And speaking with my own spiritual director and so on, we know that there is some value in that. There is some very real validity in those experiences. And as we go deeper then from Sabikalpa towards Nirvikalpa, which certainly takes a lot of time, and I don't say that I've in any way mastered that state, but I've had at least enough of a taste of it to realize that it's real and that it does consist of such an extraordinary, glorious, beautiful, blissful sense of abiding in the source as source itself. So the distinction that Yogananda makes in one of his cosmic chants is in Sabikapa Samadhi, you drown yourself in yourself, whereas in Nirvikapa Samadhi, you find yourself in yourself. So you go from losing identity to gaining individuated identity in cosmic consciousness, in the bliss of belonging to God as one's true self. So these are the distinctions that we see emerging in the path towards samadhi, and they're certainly valid experiences that have been noted and written down in quite some detail by saints of different traditions. And I don't relate these to boast in any way, and after all, even my own absorption have been incomplete, especially this Nirvikalpa, but to share with you that an ordinary person who is devoted to his practice, to some meditation practice, is certainly capable of finding that increasingly pure absorption, by whatever name we call it, divine union or samadhi or nirvana or by some other term. So let's take a moment now to pause again and look at another affirmation. We have this one coming from Yogananda on page 65 of his little book, Scientific Healing Affirmations. Affirmation for spiritual success. Thou art wisdom, and thou dost know the cause and end of all things. I am thy child. I want to know life's true mystery, life's true joyous duty. Thy wisdom in me shall show all things that thou dost know, that thou dost know. So as we examine this particular affirmation and the way that Yogananda gives of scientifically going deeper with this, for example, reciting it during meditation, perhaps toward the end of our meditation, after we've finished our breath work, our pranayama, or some such, then as we go very deep into this, we begin to gain this intimacy with the indweller, with the Holy Spirit, with the pure Spirit. And as we gain this ascendancy, as we gain this purification, we begin to realize that we really lack nothing. And so our affirmation for spiritual success, which includes here, thy wisdom in me shall show all things that thou dost know, that thou dost know. It reminds us that in that Nirvikalpa Samadhi state, we are individuated in spirit. We lack nothing whatsoever. We have gained the full richness of the Spirit itself as our identity, and yet we remain individuated in our unique form, our unique thought form, and our unique physical form. So nothing is lost, and even if we say that I am not the body, I am not the mind, even these things in a sense are fully spiritualized in the end, whatever becomes of them in the last reckoning. So this process then of going deeper and of, I think, for example, trusting the gurus, trusting those that have gone before us, and allowing ourselves to be guided by them, allowing ourselves to recognize that there are these spiritual masters, these spiritual giants in all the traditions, Hindu, Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, and so on, Sikh. And as we seek, we find, isn't it? So this incredible invitation to enjoy what the bliss that the Buddha has enjoyed, to enjoy the wisdom that Kabir and Yogananda have enjoyed, to enjoy the extraordinary empowerment that Christ enjoyed. We're invited to at least partially invoke that even at this moment, and in the end, when we have fully disciplined body and mind and found that conclusion, that concluding stamp of approval from beyond us, beyond the ego, our guru, or from the spirit itself, in rare cases, usually from the guru, then we are able to realize and recognize this full potential that's within us has flowered in its ultimate sense. So let's take a look now at another affirmation. This one, an affirmation for material success. Thou art my Father, success and joy. I am thy child, success and joy. All the wealth of this earth, all the riches of the universe belong to thee, belong to thee. I am thy child. The wealth of earth and universe belongs to me, oh, belongs to me, belongs to me. I lived in thoughts of poverty and wrongly fancied I was poor, so I was poor. Now I am home. Thy consciousness hath made me wealthy, made me rich. I am successful, I am rich. Thou art my treasure, I am rich, I am rich. Thou art everything, thou art everything, thou art mine. I have everything, I have everything, I am wealthy, I am rich, I have everything, I have everything, I possess all and everything. Even as thou dost, even as thou dost, I possess everything, I possess everything. Thou art my wealth, I have everything. So this one again, penned by Yogananda, who, when he came to the United States, was living in quite humble circumstances, it's true. His father had given him a check that tided him over for a couple of years when he lived in Boston, where he arrived in 1920. And he's been called the father of yoga in the West since that time, when he came to disseminate the teachings of the yoga masters from Babaji and Christ and Sri Krishna especially, down to Lahiri Mahashaya and so on. I shouldn't say especially, but of his lineage. So as we begin to discover that this teaching is ultimately about knowing ourselves as we really are, it is both non-dual and in a sense dual insofar as it helps us to live our lives in, I would say, in an extraordinary way, even in the ordinary setting of our home and family life. Like Lahiri Mahasaya did. He was a householder yogi of the very highest order. He spent the last years of his life in meditation wherein he would sit in lotus overnight without sleeping and remain completely absorbed in nirvikalpa samadhi bliss. So this each night of his life for years. So we know that he had achieved that highest level of divine union, nirvikalpa samadhi, along with so many others of this particular tradition and of other traditions, allied techniques as well. So when we look here at this affirmation for material success, we realize that, I began by saying Yogananda came in a very humble way and stayed in a humble cold water flat in Boston for some time. But when he began touring, he toured the United States and spoke in large speaking places, large venues where he spoke between 3,000 and 5,000 people with some frequency. Well, and he spoke the same message. He said, you are capable of living the life that you deserve. You are capable of living the life of extraordinary bliss and wisdom and capacity of realizing your highest potential in this lifetime. And this is really the essence of yogic philosophy. One of the beauties that I see in Yogananda's approach is that he gives us these affirmations not only for spiritual success, but also for material success. And he told us, spend as much time developing the mind as the body as the soul. If you can put as much effort into each of these aspects of the personality, you will strike gold. You will find success on every level. So this is, I think, a very beautiful approach, a philosophy which is full of, I think, a sense of humor about who we are, but also a sense of extraordinary wisdom as we learn to find the rare wild blossoms in the forest of difficulties. So let's take a look now. We did a spiritual affirmation for spiritual success, affirmation for material success, and here's an affirmation for psychological success. I am brave, I am strong. Perfume of success thoughts blows in me, blows in me. I am cool, I am calm, I am sweet, I am kind, I am love and sympathy, I am charming and magnetic, I am pleased with all, I wipe away all tears and fears. I have no enemy, I am the friend of all. I have no habits in eating, thinking, behaving. I am free, I am free. I command thee, O attention, to come and practice concentration on things I do, on works I do. I can do everything when so I think, when so I think. In church or temple, in prayer mood, my vagrant thoughts against me stood, and held my mind from reaching thee, and held my mind from reaching thee. Teach me to own again, O own again, my matter, soul, mind, and brain, that I may give them to thee, in prayer and ecstasy, in meditation and reverie. I will worship thee in meditation and seclusion. I will feel thine energy flowing through my hands in activity. Lest in sloth I lose thee, I will find thee in activity. So as we plunge ever deeper into this potential that's in us, and who can really doubt that there is this extraordinary potential in each one of us just waiting to be unlocked? This extraordinary, soulful, spiritual dimension, which, of course, we have the capacity to plunge into with the right tools, such as meditation and prayer, and also other spiritual disciplines, fasting, um, uh, simple living, uh, abstaining from being, certain kinds of vices, even abstaining from meat eating or some such. These can be very valuable to us as we practice for ourselves, experiment for ourselves, and see where those kinds of disciplines carry us. And these, again, are fairly universal practices that have been practiced by the sages and saints of all the different traditions, Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, and so on. So as we dive deep in these practices and contemplate for ourselves the good that comes from them, recognizing the good as we forge forward on our own, then we begin to realize that the sky is the limit. Initially, it's difficult, of course. It's like, Wim Hof's method with the ice baths, something that also Yogananda did before Wim Hof, and Trey Langaswamy and so on. Certainly Babaji in his cold exposure therapy. But as we go deeper into this practice of challenging ourselves to overcome some of our petty likes and dislikes, some of our habits of clinging and whining and carrying on about things, then we begin to see that there is this potential in us to really begin to grow very strong, to grow very resistant to the temptations of the world, and to find our way as more and more saintly personages ourselves. This is what the world, there's no arguing, this is what the world needs. It needs people that are willing to practice virtue. It needs people that are willing to make the effort, people that are willing to develop not only their six-pack and their brain, but also their soul power, the potentials within them for being happier, healthier, and holier people. So that's my little spiel. I want to close here with just a couple of more affirmations. Or we could do one physical one for the eyes, affirmation for the eyes, and then we'll go on to a couple closing thoughts. Affirmation for the eyes. I bid you, O rays of blue, to glide through my optic nerves and show me true, and show me true. His light is there, his light is there. Through my eyes he doth peep, he doth peep. They are whole, they are perfect, one above and two below. Eyes three, through you unseen what light doth flee, through you unseen what light doth flee. Lotus eyes, weep no more, weep no more. The storms thy petals hurt no more. Come quick and glad like swans in the blithesome waters of bliss, in the gentle lake of peace, in the hour of wisdom's dawn. This light of thine, O shines through mine, through past, present, and future time. I command you, my eyes, to be one and single, be one and single, to see all and know all, to make my body shine, to make my mind shine, to make my soul shine. And here, a couple of concluding affirmations. And those, as there's another exercise given for the eyes, focusing on the medulla oblongata, and this is a good way to heal any physical or mental distress or disease. To do this very deeply, especially after meditation, to focus on the medulla oblongata at the base of the skull and to feel the vibration of healing power flowing from that, which is called the mouth of God by the yogis, to, let's say, to the optic nerves, and from the optic nerves into the retinas to heal those. And I found that that's helped me in my own healing adventures. And we can send that anywhere. We can send that also to the body, to the kneecap or to the toe or some such, and find healing in that way as well. So let's go ahead and take a look now at 2 concluding affirmations and then a closing word. Since thine indelible image of perfection is in me, teach me to wipe away the superficial stains of ignorance and see that thou and I are one. I love this one and I come back to it. I try to do this one at least once a day. Teach me to wipe away the superficial stains of ignorance and see that thou and I are one, since thine indelible image of perfection is in me. It's not something that we acquire from the outside. It's who we are as souls. It's who we are as spiritual beings. It's who we are as our true identity. And then this one. O Spirit, teach me to heal the body by recharging it with thy cosmic energy, to heal the mind by concentration and cheerfulness, and the soul by meditation-born intuition. Let thy kingdom that is within manifest itself without. So these few thoughts here, these 5 or 6 scientific healing affirmations, are ones that I use myself, that I find very helpful, and in accompaniment with the daily meditation and prayer, I really truly believe that these are the quickest way that this symphony of processes, the symphony of practices, meditation, prayer, affirmation, along with some others like fasting, can empower the willpower to find healing on every level, find wholeness on every level, and to find satisfaction, health, wealth, and purification on every level. So let's conclude with a simple prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, saints of all traditions, all religions, we humbly bow before you all. Guide us by thy wisdom to that place of true happiness, of abiding in the light, knowing that, as Christ said, you are the light of the world and the salt of the earth. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I also hope that if you have some questions, you'll let me know. If you want to hear more of us on a specific theme, please don't hesitate to let me know that as well. And don't forget to subscribe and to follow me on my Facebook and also on my #1 music site, n1m.com/Mario Caputo. There are about 100 recordings up there, including a number of original songs, some spirituals, some ballads, some cosmic chants of Yoganandas, some readings from my books, and also a number of these scientific healing affirmations. So it's good to have a little bit of redundancy in that sense, to have access to these affirmations in more than one place. So, blessings to you, and until next time, Namaste, Divine Soul.